So good morning again, everybody, and welcome to the satsang. We wanted to, as you know, share a little bit about, our recent pilgrimage. I think many of you know, we had a recent pilgrimage opportunity and a great privilege to go with about 22 of us, and we got to follow, as it happened, the footsteps of the masters. We actually have a few of the people who came on the trip here, and it's nice to see you all. There's Serena and Neeta and Roshni on camera, and maybe others too, Tanya and Jay and everyone. It's really nice to stay connected now going forward. And really, actually, I was thinking any of us, any of the 22 people who are on this trip could share, and the whole sharing would be so different because the inspiration from each place would be so unique. So at some point, it may be a very nice experience if we get together and we can share something. But what we wanted to do this morning was just capture a little bit about, each point. So if you go through a little visual, we started up in the mountains in Babaji's cave where Lahiri and Babaji met. And that's up in Ranikhet. And so we had this wonderful expanse of the mountains. And then we came down following the footsteps of Lahiri back to Banaras, Varanasi, where his house is, and of course, Trelanga Swami, Kashi Vishwanath Temple. And then we went to the seaside hermitage in Puri of Sri Yukteswars, spent a couple of days there. And then we went back up to Kolkata, Master's boyhood home, Serampore, Tulsi Bo Shrine, and Dakshineshwar Temple. And then we ended in Vrindavan and Agra. So we'll share a little bit of the essence of our inspiration from following each of these masters from each of the places, and also,
of course, the more important part as devotees, which is how we can follow the footsteps of the masters inwardly. Just 1 second. There we go. How we can inwardly follow the footsteps of the masters, because it's interesting to contemplate, and it's actually very inspiring and encouraging that these wonderful gurus, and we will not talk about Jesus Christ today because we did not go to any of his places, but even Jesus Christ, they all together have really given everything that we need for our spiritual success and even for our material success, for success of any kind, really. And I always feel very grateful at this thought that really we don't need to look anywhere else. Even if you wanted to, you don't need to, because they have given answers to every problem, solutions to any circumstance in our life. They have told us how to behave, how to be in the family, how to have a deep spiritual life, how to really have everything. And that's something we want to follow as devotees of this path. That's something we want to tune into. So when we talk about the footsteps, yes, we will talk about the physical footsteps as well as the spiritual footsteps of the masters. And starting in Babaji's cave, and of course with Mahavatar Babaji, which is probably one of the most fascinating of all our masters, because he's the only one who is said to still be in the body, as opposite to all the other 4 gurus that they have left the body. And I feel that this can be twofold. Sometimes because he's still in the body, but we don't see him, we feel like, oh my God, he's so far away. He is only for those who are way too advanced, much more advanced than me to see Babaji. So we make him feel like he's very far away. But sometimes we feel like he's very close by because he's right there in the Himalayas, and even if you're in another country, India, in the whole space and time, is not that far away from wherever you are. And of course, since he's a master, in theory, he could materialize right in front of you if he so chose to. So because he's in the body, sometimes we can see it really in any of these 2 ways. And what I really like about the pilgrimage to Babaji's cave, first of all, there is a lot of tapasya that is involved. We traveled either by train or by flight, and then we had to take a long bus ride. And some people, some who are present here, were not feeling very well during that bus ride because it's in the hills, and we all know the hills. And the hills in the bus is even worse. Even though we are with devotees and we are chanting and singing together and inspiring each other, still the physical body sometimes doesn't cooperate as much. We have this whole 5 hour trip in the bus just to get to the hotel, and then to get to the cave is another hour and a half or 2 hours, which we usually do the next day. So there is this physical tapasya that we all have to do. And then, of course, the climb to Babaji's cave is not a particularly long or hard climb, but many of us who have been, just sitting in front of the computer for way too long, it becomes a little more difficult than it should be. And this time around, actually, as compared to when we went with the online community, Janani and others who are also here, that road that you can do in the Jeep, the first couple kilometers, was under maintenance. So we were not able to use the Jeep for that. And the road in some places was quite precarious and very, very muddy and whatnot. So there was a little extra tapasya that had to be done. But what I always feel is that most people who go in the pilgrimage to Babaji's cave have, even underneath in some way, oh, maybe I will see Babaji, which is, we don't have that feeling usually with any of the other masters because they are not in the body. So we realize that we may see them in our meditation room, or we may see them in a vision if they so choose. But Babaji has that particular, I think, oh, maybe he will reveal himself physically because he is there still physically. And I think that extra expectation from people brings a wonderful, wonderful devotion to the whole group. Now, I did have a little reading from the autobiography of a yogi, chapter 33, that Master says, no limiting facts about Babaji's family or birthplace, dear to the analyst's heart, have ever been discovered. His speech is generally Hindi, but he converses easily in any language. He has adopted the simple name of Babaji, revered father. Other titles respect given to him by Lahiri Mahashaya's disciples are Mahamuni Babaji Maharaj, Mahayogi, Trambak Baba, Shiva Baba. Does it matter? We know not the paranoimic of any earth-related master, release master, sorry. And then Lahiri Mahashaya goes on to say this very famous quote. Whenever anyone utters with reverence the name of Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya said, that devotee attracts an instant spiritual blessing. And I invite you, because this is something I have done many times, what does it mean to utter the name of Babaji with reverence? He says that we attract an instant spiritual blessing, And I think this particular phrase of Lahiri Mahashaya makes Babaji feel very, very close. I think most of us feel Babaji quite close, or the closest, when we have a Kriya initiation, because the masters are said to be there during the Kriya initiation. And we know, in case someone here is not a Kriyavan, but there is a whole Babaji thing that happens in the Kriya initiation. And I think that's one of the times that we feel him the closest, and we feel his living presence with us. But it was very nice to see there is this guy that was with us called Mahavir, who has seen Babaji, who Babaji asked him to bring his devotees to the cave, and he's been his seva for this entire incarnation. And he's so sweet. And one of the sweetest things is that anything that happens to him or doesn't happen, he just says, Babaji, what's happening here? Oh, Babaji is Babaji. And he has such a close connection in his heart with Babaji that really shows you how close he is and how to actually be with him with reverence. Finally, I want to say that that's obviously what we had to have with all our masters, and particularly in prayer. In prayer is when we can really put a lot of reverence when we talk to the masters. That's when we speak to the masters in a way. And especially, I will say, pay attention to the prayers that we do and the repeated prayers. There is that prayer of Master, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of all devotion, and may I be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. And oftentimes when we hear that, we say, okay, yeah, I know what to say, and we just say it robotically. But don't do that. Say it with reverence, and Divine Mother will be with you. Master will be with you. Babaji will be with you if we make that effort to keep him close and dear. Okay, to Lahiri Mahashaya.
All right. So we're going to do back and forth. So then we went from Babaji's cave, as he said, up there in the mountains. Last year, the ones of us from the India community, we went, I think, around this time where we got to see the snow peaks. This time it was lots of clouds. But the good part of that is it wasn't so sunny when we hiked up. So there's always a, a blessing in there somewhere. So from there, we kind of followed as Babaji's instructions to Lahiri Mahashaya, go back into the world and be a householder, do your job as an accountant for the government or whatever post he was doing, and be there and be an example of this light right there from Varanasi where he was. And so we went. We didn't have to take the old mode of transportation. Luckily, we took a flight or 2 flights. And, there we were in Varanasi, which, it's an interesting thing. There's always some tapasya involved in pilgrimage, as he was saying. In Varanasi, it's a different kind of tapasya. Yeah, and many people with the temperature change itself, started to feel a little sore throat or just kind of feel, and it was really hot, it was humid, the sun was just shining on us, just burning in a sense. What was really amazing for me, and this is something that I took as a lesson from that point, was just this wonderful group, 22 people, like I said, just Kriya Yogis. There was not a complaint, it was just, people weren't even asking. I had a bag of medicines with me for anybody who needed. People weren't even asking me. I had to go and ask them, are you sure you don't need any medicine? I took that as such an inspiration, it's like they were just every devotee trying to tune in to the blessing, to the great reverence of getting an opportunity to put our feet where many great saints have been. And to think of it, of course, Babaji and Lahiri Mahashaya and Mataji, and we have wonderful stories from the autobiography and Trelanga Swami and Ananda Mohima. And we found out actually from this trip, and this is actually Serena, because you were pointing out, where did Yogananda meet Sri Yukteswar? And it was also in Varanasi, in fact, at that time in one of the streets there in the market. And then how many other saints, the list goes on. Tulsi Das, there's a Tulsi Das Ghat where he composed the Ramayana. So this is one of the oldest cities, isn't it, in the world? And there it is, and it's muddy, and it's hot, and there's tapasya.
And lots of crowds.
Lots of crowds. It's very, you have to be a spiritual archaeologist, as Nayaswami Devi told us to do. When you go to these pilgrimage spots, try to be a spiritual archaeologist and dive into the vibration underneath the surface of what is. And it was really inspiring to see, sincerely, everyone just trying their best to do that. And, even to go to Lahiri Mahashaya's house, if you haven't been there, it's a very narrow lane. And we were kind of joking, if you put your hand from one end to the other, that's it. That you can touch both the walls on either side and you can walk like this, and the house is tiny. And you're just standing there and going, wow, the whole mission of Kriya Yoga and this amount of light has come from this tiny lane, if you think. And how many saints have come here? And there's this story in the autobiography of Trelanga Swami's disciple, woman disciple, who said she was sitting with Lahiri Mahashaya. And Babaji just walked into the room and they had a conversation. And those are the kind of things that were happening in that little tiny lane, and you think of it. And one thing I thought of, a little analogy, if I may, of just, what does that show us in a way? And one quote of Lahiri Mahashaya, which we all know, is solve all your problems through Kriya Yoga. And he also said, I'm ever with those who practice Kriya Yoga. And in a way, this was a little analogy of you go into the straight and narrow, into the spine, and you raise the energy there, you stay there. And ever with us is the master, ever with us is that grace. And you don't get caught in all the other stuff, which is constantly trying to pull our attention, isn't it? In this case, it was dramatically the outer environment of the, in that thin lane, only bikes are allowed because cars don't fit. And if a bike was to go and you were there, it's like you have to protect your toes because they may just go over your toes, and there's so many things. There's a cow, there's just things all over the place. But if you just stay in the spine, practice Kriya, practice the meditation. I'm ever with you who practice that. And that was such a kind of contrast experience, isn't it? Because I think that's one blessing that Varanasi offers. And that's why many devotees actually, even from our group, were planning where their retirement home could be. They wanted to come and leave their body there. It's just because it offers such a beautiful opportunity to just do what we are doing, what our path is don't get caught in the outer experience. It will be a nightmare. Go within yourself, and in there, you can find right now the bliss of the masters right here and then. And one last point which kept coming to me in Varanasi was from Trilanga Swami. Again, we went to his place, very beautiful vibration, a very strong vibration. And we know from the stories in autobiography of a yogi, he too was a great realized master. Yogananda ji's uncle went to touch his feet through all the crowds in a ghat, and he got healed of a very deep physical illness that he was going through just by touching the feet of Trilanga Swami. And of course, he would just manifest on the roof from the jail, and this wonderful stories. He was free. But there was this moment there, if you remember the end of that chapter, where he was basically outwardly proclaiming reverence for Lahiri Mahasaya. And one of his disciples kind of said to him that you are a renunciate. Lahiri Mahasaya was a householder. How could you offer such reverence to him? And Trilanga Swami's answer was, Lahiri Mahasaya is like a divine kitten. He has been placed wherever God has placed him, and there he is serving and doing what he needs to do as a householder in this world. But it is for his greatness, spiritual greatness, and the level that he has reached, that I have renounced even my loincloth. And the reverence that he had for Lahiri Mahasaya, and just to feel on what a privilege it is for us to have Lahiri Mahasaya in our line of gurus, and that we get to be one of the disciples in this lineage, and just to hold that reverence as well from our side, and to feel the blessing of every time we practice our Kriya, every time we solve our problems through Kriya, and just remember to do that. He's with us and he gives us his blessing in that moment as well. Okay. And so now on to the seaside hermitage in Puri.
I'm happy there is a reference to cats in the autobiography. So then as we said, we went down to Puri, and Puri, again, another contrast. There was so many contrasts in this pilgrimage, I feel, from the serenity of the Himalayas to the humidity and chaos of Varanasi to the still humid but less chaotic streets of Puri and place of Puri. The ocean itself already gives you a whole different vibration, and I feel like many times the ocean gives the vibration of relaxation to people, because you can just be there by the ocean sitting in the sun. And I think people tend to go to those places to relax very often. I don't know if they go to Puri necessarily, but the sea salt smell and all that, water is it has a different feeling altogether. And then, of course, we went to the place of Swami Sri Yukteswar, the hermitage, which, if you read the chapter Years in My Master's Hermitage, most of it or all of it happened at that particular place, that particular seaside hermitage of Sri Yukteswar. And then we went to also another place where I believe there were more of the ashes of Lahiri Mahasaya. I forgot the name of the Bhupendranath Sanyal. Bhupendranath, one of Lahiri Mahasaya's disciples that we actually can read from the autobiography of a yogi. And the ashram of Totapuri, the guru of Ramakrishna Paramhansa, and which was a very nice place, actually. If you haven't been there, we highly recommend that you also visit that. But going back to Sri Yukteswar, first of all, it's just fun to, relive some of the things that happened between Master and Sri Yukteswar, the cauliflower robbery, when Master forgot to lock the door, visualizing them all going in a line with Sri Yukteswar saying, boys go to and fro in a pretty little row. And even there was a well there, or a pump, that we were thinking that maybe that's the one that Sri Yukteswar told Master he may find a lamp which was lost in the ashram. So again, just going through all of these things in your mind, it's just very devotional. It brings a very wonderful vibration to your heart. But I think we all remember, and rightly so, Sri Yukteswar by the strict disciplinarian that he was. Even though when Swamiji told Yogananda ji that, oh, when I look at Sri Yukteswar, I see only love in his eyes, and Master replied, there was no love in those eyes, And it doesn't mean that Sri Yukteswar was not loving. Actually, he was a master. He could be as loving as any other master, as loving as Jesus Christ, as anyone else. He could be as strict. He could be as joyful, whatever. But he chose more than anything to express wisdom and express the disciplinary aspect of wisdom. You could say the strict aspect of wisdom, which I'm very grateful for, because on the spiritual path, we have, a Prem avatar or a bliss avatar as our guru, that he was very lenient towards many of his disciples, as he said. And many a times people think that that's all there is to it. Oh, it just go with the flow. It's all fine. No, but we also need discipline. We also need to be disciplined within ourselves. And for that, I wanted to have a little reading from chapter 12, which is Years in My Master's Hermitage, of Sri Yukteswar. Divine insight is painful to worldly ears. Master was not popular with superficial students. The wise, always few in number, deeply revere him. Ardei says Sri Yukteswar would have been the most sought after guru in India had his words not been so candid and so censorious. And then Sri Yukteswar says, I am hard on those who come for my training, he admitted to me. That is my way. Take it or leave it. I will never compromise. But you will be much kinder to your disciples. That is your way. I try to purify only in the fires of severity, searing beyond the average toleration. The gentle approach of love is also transfiguring. The inflexible and the yielding methods are equally effective if applied with wisdom. You will go to foreign lands where blunt assaults on the ego are not appreciated. A teacher could not spread India's message in the West without an ample fund of accommodative patience and forbearance. And then Master says, I refuse to state the amount of truth I later came to find in Master's words. People in the West don't want their egos to be smacked. Like, in India, people can take that much more. They have that respect for the teacher. In the West, was not like that. He needed to be much more accommodating. But Sri Yukteswar made a point here very clearly. I'm strict with those who come for help to his disciples. He was strict with those who were serious about the spiritual path. And I often think, and it's something for us to think also, that aspect of Sri Yukteswar was bringing strictness to those who wanted to be trained is really an aspect of love. He was really showing tough love to his disciples, but it was love nevertheless. It was a very high degree of love, because the ultimate goal for him was to help all of the disciples to achieve God realization. Maybe sometimes his goal was also to chase away those who were not serious, but nevertheless. So, and I was thinking about my own life, is I have been actually the happiest the times that I was able to be disciplined with myself. Swamiji used to say that tapasya should be a joyful thing. It should not be a grim thing. There is actually a lot of joy in discipline. There is a lot of joy if you can do discipline with the masters. And again, the level of discipline is different for everybody. Discipline doesn't mean military, like strictness like this. Oh, I don't do that, I don't do that, I don't do that. No, it's more an exploration. You can say discipline as an exploration of the divine truths that the masters have brought to us. And you want to really try them for yourself, try them in a serious way. So therefore, you had to put a certain amount of energy in a constant manner, not just once I will go and meditate for a long time, you know. No, it's a constant effort that requires discipline, that requires love, that requires joy, that requires commitment. So when you're able to see discipline in that way, when you're able to see discipline as a loving thing, not as a strict thing, as a, oh, God will be displeased with me if I'm not a little more strict with myself, then you will see that you start enjoying it. And you will see that those will become the happier moments of your life when you are able to stick to what the master says, to stick to some of your ideas, to stick to your sadhana and energization and everything in a regular manner, not with stress, but with love, the discipline of love. I think that's a wonderful example that Sri Yukteswar brought. Now?
Yes, and before Kolkata, actually, there was this one moment in the Hermitage. That's where the cauliflower robbery happened. And so we tuned into that story a little bit. And, there was this one line, again, it was warm. And we tuned into this one line of, and Master writes. And I think Sri Yukteswar said to Master that, don't worry, because it's so hot, we're going for a walk on the beach. God will provide us a shelter of clouds. And all of us sitting there looked up. And then there was some little bit of clouds coming, and we were, oh, you see, so even it's true, even in the tapasya, he comes in these little ways to help us and give us some solace. But going from there, we went to Kolkata. And when I asked, I don't know if this is biased or not, but when I asked a few people, quite a few of them, what was your favorite part of the pilgrimage? The answer was a collective, Kolkata. And I don't know if there's something about that, but I guess maybe because it's our own guru, our own place. So there's a sense of sort of, a lot of like solace. And we were very happy. We were ending this 4 places with Kolkata and having enough time there. So for this, of course, some of the family from India joined as well, from Chandigarh and the online community. And it was a wonderful gathering of energy. We got to meet up with the Ananda Kolkata family as well, the center. They gave us such a warm welcome. It was really like homecoming. Of course, we spent the day at Master's house in Gurpar Road, his boyhood home, and Tulsi Bose Shrine. So that was one of the days we spent there. And really just the feeling of just, this is home. And for the devotee to be able to feel that is a real blessing, isn't it? It's to know that our guru holds us very closely. And there was this moment, so there's Yoganandaji's attic, which is on the top floor in Gurpar Road, where he used to meditate for long hours as a boy. And we get to go and meditate in that attic. It's very little, tiny again. So just few people, maybe 5 people maximum can sit at a time. So we have to take turns. And just by being in the house, being in that attic, there was this feeling of, in the summer, I had tried to put an affirmation together. And I chose some from, affirmations for self-healing of Swamiji, but the prayers that he gives. So I chose a couple of lines that resonated and tried to make my own affirmation. All of a sudden, while meditating in the attic, the lines that I had written came to mind, which was, hold me closely in thy arms of love. That feeling of just being hugged by the guru, just being held in his arms of love. And then the next one was, make me an instrument of thy light. And I felt in a way, Master's home in Kolkata, the Tulsi Bose Shrine, represents this very much. His boyhood years, they kind of were the start, let's say, of his entire mission on this planet. He was already meditating deeply. He had saints in that area, the levitating saint, his Sanskrit tutor. I mean, everybody, his own parents were disciples of Lahiri Mahasaya, his guru, everything that happened in Kolkata. And of course, his own friends like Tulsi Bose, who was a great soul. And just from that very tiny, again, Babaji visited him. There's a room in Master's house where Babaji visited him, and then he couldn't move, if you remember. He said, don't try to follow me, your legs won't move. And he couldn't move. He couldn't run after him. So great occurrences have happened right there in that very concentrated area where his house is and around that area. But to just feel that, again, the power of that, and then to do as part of his mission is to take that out and radiate that light out and share that with everyone who we can. And that's so much our path, isn't it? Is concentrate, feel the presence of the Guru. And that was the quote as well I wanted to share: to those who think me near, I will be near. Again, very simple quote, but very tangible where his vibration is. To those who think me near, there you are. We're all thinking of him, praying to him, calling to him. And you feel him just filling you completely and recharging you, showing you that everything is okay, no matter what you're going through. Just think me near, and I will be near. I will lift you out of whatever is going on. And even, in Tulsi Bo's shrine, we got to spend a lot of the day. We got to have a kriya there. There was one of our devotees from New Zealand, and it was her first time taking kriya. So we kind of joked in honor of her, this entire kriya happened, but we got to all be blessed by that. Very powerful kriya. Very, again, Tulsi Bo shrine, everybody can go. Ananda has it now. We take care of it, Ananda Sangha. And just, to be sitting there, we had also Tulsi Bose's grandson, Manash Mukherjee. And he is there in Kolkata, and he came and he shared with us in some satsang. And he, of course, also practices. And again, we were sitting in that very tiny space, and he's saying, right here in this room is where Yogananda, Tulsi Bose, they used to meditate together. They used to levitate in this very room. And we're looking up and saying, oh my goodness, this is the blessing of this space. And he said, it looks like just a old little house, but in fact, it also has been a very crucial part of the start of Yogananda's mission from where he went out with this vibration. And just to feel the blessing of that, to renew our kriya inspiration in that blessing. And also another part was of this, and as an extension, I took it, when we landed from Varanasi and Puri and we reached Kolkata, there was rain. And, we were having our lunch and it was pouring outside. And then after lunch, we went to Dakshineshwar temple and the rain had stopped, but everything was wet. The whole floor was cool, which we've been there before a few times, where you walk and your feet just burn, even on those brown mats they put to cool your feet. You're just, ow, 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 and you're kind of running to the deity. But this was just like, even that I was thinking, it's just the sweetness of the Guru, and that was Yogananda, the Prem avatar. And I think we all see that in a way. And that's why also adding to Baraquiel sharing, Master had more devotees, more disciples, because he's just more compassionate, sweet way. And I took that as also a little bit of a solace that was provided. And for us to just enjoy the Dakshineshwar temple and enjoy Kolkata, honestly, the whole time there was just this cooling, this sort of feel of home, feel of family. Meeting also then in Serampore, the Ghosh family, which is Ananta Ghosh's master's eldest brother's descendants line. And so his great grandson, and of course his grandson, and they shared with us stories, and just again a beautiful Bengali meal which everybody relished. Just on every level you can see how the Guru's love, palpable through the devotees, palpable through coming together in satsang, in the food, in the culture, in everything, was just warmth, joy, and just to feel that, fed by that warmth and that grace, and to keep that feeling with us. And I was thinking as well, from these moments, each place, as concluding words we'll offer, each place offers something unique from our line of gurus. And it's very important for us to honor the feeling of inspiration we get from that part, from that place, from that guru, whether you go there physically or not. We're trying to walk in footsteps of them. Honor that inspiration from the guru and really hold it, try to draw on it, try to draw on the memory of that inspiration when we meditate every single day. The feeling of what it is when I think you near and I feel you near. and to hold that inspiration every single day, renew it, hold it sacred in our hearts, because these are living presences in our lives. And to keep that alive for ourselves is just a very, very important part of our discipleship and of walking the path of Kriya Yoga.
So let's just close our eyes for a moment and feel the blessings of the masters with us, whether we went in physical pilgrimage or not. Every day we do that inner pilgrimage where we walk the pathway of the spine and meet them at the point between the eyebrows and are able to offer everything to them daily, strongly. So let's bring their presence into our hearts and let's share those blessings with the entire world. Draw our hands together. Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om. Thank you everyone for joining, and we hope one day all of you can also join in physical pilgrimage as well. It's always a joy to be together with Guru Bhais, again, lot of singing, lot of chanting, lot of joy going around, and then you realize that who really is your family on earth.
Yeah, we hope to do these again and again, many times. Jai Guru, have a blessed day.